I try to convince people to slow down AI, to regulate AI. This was futile. I tried for years.
This seems
Nobody
like a scene
listened.
in a movie
Nobody
where
listened.
the robots are gonna fucking take over and you're freaking me out. Nobody listened.
Nobody listened.
No one. Are people more inclined to listen today? It seems like an issue that's brought up more often over the last few years than it was maybe 5-10 years ago. It seemed like science fiction.
Maybe they will. But it feels like we are the biological bootloader for AI, effectively. We are building it. And then we're building progressively greater intelligence. And the percentage of intelligence that is not human is increasing. And eventually, we will represent a very small percentage of intelligence. Oof. This time frame is not relevant to AI. You can't take 10 years from the point at which it's dangerous. It's too late.
If you could be anyone, who would you be? Or rather, what would you be?
And you, who are you?
I've been obsessed with technology's role in brain enhancement, using stimulation to improve memory, reaction time, even improve my hearing. I'm not qualified, so please don't try that at home. But still, I like to live on the edge, to my own detriment. Maybe another reason why I've taken such a liking to Cyberpunk. I mean, really, this is my cup of tea. And what about the rest of the body? Our biological systems? Sign me up. Well, I think. Will our world ever be like 2077? Are we already on that path, traveling the road towards the dark future? This video isn't about how much I love Mike Pondsmith's Cyberpunk, or how much I, to much controversy, love CD Projekt Red's game, a game that leaves me in awe every time I put the controller down. To be honest, I don't feel like I would give the lore or the game justice anyway, but I know people who can. Actually, I've found that just as much as I like this world, I equally adore the people who share the same interest.
Greetings Earthlings, welcome to the Madqueen Show. I am your host, the Madqueen. On today's menu, we have a new Cyberpunk 2077 lore video for you.
She's the truth. I'll link her below. Anyway, this video started because I found myself moving through my current universe thinking, ugh, I wish it was like 2077. Where's all the neon? I mean, really, there's something about the neon light piercing through the dark that really gets my neurons firing. How likely is it that a world similar to 2077 will exist? Specifically, is 2021's current trajectory any indication in regard to the impact of technology on the quantified self in relation to 2077? Cyberware was created as an evolution of medical processes. Soon, it made its way onto the battlefield, and as corporations began to rise, BioWare technology also emerged, which includes skinweave armor, nanosurgeons, toxic binders, and synaptic upgrades instead of cybernetics. Eventually, cyberware also becomes a symbol of status and style. Look at all that gold. This is Carrie, a platinum-selling artist, and by the looks of his throat, you can tell he's had some sort of cybernetic vocal enhancement, having a purpose with style. What's not to love? This is also a picture I took of Carrie and I. I'm on the left. Pretty rad, huh? Eventually, cyberware will become widely used for medicine, military, manufacturing, sex, and entertainment. As can be expected, as it developed, so did its legal and illegal markets. If you had the cash, life doesn't seem too bad. But if you didn't, your life will most likely be prone to a multitude of issues. Now that that's out of the way, let's come back to 2021, pull some tarot, and see if we can make any correlation between the cards on the table.
But watch out. A reversed Hierophant lurks in the darkness. He brings crisis, both in life and authority, rebellion and fanaticism. He is a grave threat. The devil reversed. You will find yourself under the influence of powerful people with unclear motives. Be very careful.
Cybernetics, or cyberware in cyberpunk, kind of relate to today's idea of something called transhumanism. Transhumanism is a relatively new word for the very old belief that humans can transcend the limitations of our mortal bodies, perhaps even mortality itself. In its modern form, the term encompasses a wide variety of techno-utopian ideas, ranging from life extension to body hacking to virtual reality and artificial intelligence. It's the study of the ramifications, promises, and potential dangers of such technologies, and the related study of the ethical matters involved in developing and using such technologies. Overcome fundamental human limitations. Something about that just hits different. At a deeper symbolic level, the myth of the cyborg agglutinates many of the contradictions and ambiguities that characterize American attitudes towards the body. The obsession for the security of the ego and its internal division, the old symptoms of paranoia and schizophrenia, are also the main themes of cyberculture's nightmares, which have transferred them to a new media environment, each time more saturated and more dangerous. As we know, this movement in cyberpunk began in the medical field and into the military. In 2021, that would seem to be the case as well. Today, things are ramping up while getting better and cheaper. We have come a long way with medical prosthetics, and this is just the beginning. It's completely conceivable that in the not-too-distant future, permanent, fully integrated prosthetic limbs and bionic implants will be widespread. Even today, we not only have mind-controlled artificial limbs, but with tiny implanted electrodes, they can even get back a sense of touch to an amputee. With that thought, let's leave the medical space and enter into the militarized one. This is a prototype US Marines have had their eye on. They explain that exoskeletons could allow someone to do the work of 4 individuals. Over in Japan, they focus on rescue missions, like large-scale natural disasters. This suit will allow first responders the ability to lift heavy debris in terrain, often left inaccessible to rescue vehicles. Well, cyberware in the military, check, but what about bioware or biological enhancements? Well, it seems to already be in the works. The United States Army Training and Doctrine Command co-hosted the Mad Scientist Bioconvergence and Soldier 2050 conference in 2018. Let's hear what they had to say.
The nation is coming together, and man-machine interface and human-agent teaming are all coming together. When you think about that, that's really the major trend that we as the Army Research Laboratory see in the future. An enhancement of soldiers that will be on the battlefield. Those innovations will change the way we fight. It will change the way we think about warfare. It will change the way soldiers perform their functions. It will change the way the Army is structured. It will change our doctrine. Because while there's lots of excitement about AI and machine learning, lots of excitement about innovation in the biotech space, I would be much more concerned about research, particularly in the defense environment, about how to counter AI and how to counter biotechnology. And those are areas where we should really think about how we invest as an Army and as a Department of Defense.
So it sounds like something out of a movie, the threat of a bunch of human weapons with biologically enhanced capability. He says China's efforts include human testing to help develop soldiers with those biologically enhanced capabilities. And that is why, of all things, we are talking about super soldiers right now.
I've actually studied this issue and written about it, and they have found that there is ample evidence that Chinese scientists are very interested in applying biotechnology to the battlefield, and specifically the CRISPR gene editing tool, which raises a ton of questions. Picture super strong commandos who can operate on 3 hours sleep, or a sniper who can see twice as far as a normal person.
There's a third element that might be the most significant and sinister of them all. This element in cyberpunk deals with the inequalities between the people on the top who rule the world behind the scenes and everyone else. Is technology moving dangerously much faster than regulations are able to keep up with? Well, the progression of medical prosthetics is a game changer, and while some of these modifications, especially super soldiers, can be a little concerning, the defensive measure can be a plausible argument, I guess. But the fight for control has been around since the dawn of time, and I don't think that will ever change.
You don't see it? Way corps are stripping our world and lives naked, piece by piece. Can't turn a blind eye to that. Saw them transform Night City into a machine fueled by people's crushed spirits, broken dreams, and emptied pockets. V, I've declared war not because capitalism's a thorn in my side or out of nostalgia for an America gone by. This war's a people's war against a system that spiraled out of our control.
This is what Cyberpunk depicts so beautifully. It really makes you think about the possibility of a dark future, what lurks in the shadows existing in all humanity. These individuals hold their resources, they love their advantages, and they don't like to share. This is how they maintain their position after all. If someone or something threatens that, they'll lose their minds. This element can be seen in 2021 as well. The GameStop fiasco is a recent example most of us are familiar with.
Slowly, other Redditors began to realize that by banding together, they could do two things. First, that their power in numbers combined with the power of trading platforms like Robinhood could enable them to act together, and two, that by pushing the stock up collectively, they could make more money and screw over major heavy hitters on Wall Street.
And with an economy in ruins, then, many were saddled with student loan debt, and many worked their butts off and were told by well-intentioned family members, society, everyone, look, if you just work really hard, get good grades, go to a good school, you'll have a great job. You'll have a good middle-class life. That was the story. Everyone was told. And they're looking around going, well, hold on, I did it. I did all the things, but there's no job for me.
This is Lee Cooperman, a billionaire investor and hedge fund manager. I wonder what's his take on all this.
What they're doing is people are sitting at home getting the checks from the government, okay? And this fair share is a bullshit concept. It's just a way of attacking wealthy people, and I think it's inappropriate. We're all gonna
pull off and have actually, I think, pulled off the rarest of rare occurrences, which is an actual transfer of wealth from Wall Street to Main Street. That shows you how fake the market is, how elites are allowed to rig it and use it to their advantage all the time with zero consequences whatsoever.
And so I think the larger question here is, how do we want to design our economy? Do we want to incentivize people who study science to write trading algorithms instead of working on climate change? Do we want people who are graduating with PhDs to pursue these more lucrative jobs on Wall Street, in order to make more money for the wealthy? I mean, look.
This is Mr. Cooperman again. This is his response to a wealth tax.
On your face, but hear it in your voice when you talk about this, Lee. Why?
I care. That's it.
But if this entire thing is a scheme, and it's all made up anyways, then why shouldn't the little guys make some of the money?
Look, I don't want to get too much off topic, but my purpose is to highlight this. When people come together, it's a force to be reckoned with. And there are those dedicated to prevent this from happening. If you think this stops at our financial system, the stock market, you'd be fooling yourself. The fundamentals don't have anything to do with money. This is about power. Will the elites be able to technologically enhance their minds and bodies, leaving everyone else behind? Possibly. But in my research, I kept coming across David Flores, faculty of medicine at the University of San Marco, Peru. He has published multiple scholarly articles offering a different perspective. Whether it holds water or not, who knows, but it's worth mentioning. He suggests that they aren't interested in becoming transhuman themselves, but to benefit from the population doing so. Probably the main swindle is the overestimation of artificial intelligence without scientific support. This includes the millionaire promotion of singularity, a term promoted by transhumanism. This is defined as the moment when the machines acquire an intelligence superior to the human one and can even govern us. This points to be only an intellectual campaign to intimidate the population and induce it to use implants, as also the recent campaign of the threat of robots being very intelligent or super dangerous. They will leave us without jobs or they will exterminate us. One of the main companies suspected of secretly and unlawfully developing transhumanism is the Peruvian health insurance company, where neuroscience research is the camouflage of experiments, using nanotechnology in order to create human weapons known as nanomafias, mainly in Latin America. David ends his article on an important note, stating that this movement makes us believe that the rich with their great economic power will be able to buy technological implants and will be more superior, and the poor without the implants will be more inferior. Thus, the social gaps will enlarge between the poor and the rich, the digital gap. For that reason, the poor shall fight to also get that advantage and seek to get those technological implants. He suggests that the billionaire promotion and financing of transhumanism by economic powers elicit human experimentation. This is suspected to be the real secret method in order to lead us towards digital slavery. Don't get me wrong, when I read all this, it did seem a little out there and even extreme, but it's still an interesting take nonetheless. I couldn't even begin to possibly understand the rhyme or reason. One thing is certain, however, everyday cyberware or bioware, like in 2077, it's coming, and its momentum won't be stopped. Cyberpunk gives you a taste of what it might be like to live in this world, a world which again is just on the distant horizon. In 2077, you're immersed in the benefits as well as the evil that lurks just beyond the door. From corporations, commercialization, to citizens resorting to the black market and sleazy ripper docks.
Well, very few children will play with broken toys. So when skin goes flabby, sockets go out of whack, implants malfunction, I'm sure you get the gist. You pay for goods, you expect top quality. Consumerism 101.
Please, scrapyards offer better quality than this.
You really feel its necessity and desperation. There is so much methodology and thought behind each and every concept, whether in the lore or in the game, and at times, it really makes a lot of sense. I mean, what if I told you that a slightly watered down version of Arasaka's relic already has a patent? This patent is owned by Microsoft. Obviously, Microsoft does not have intentions like Arasaka, but the reality is, the relic, or putting someone who's passed on into some sort of a chip or a program, this isn't just science fiction anymore. It's coming.
You wish to leave something behind, a piece of yourself. That's why this all began. You wish to be remembered.
There is a danger that the more committed we are to this view of the world, the more we come to see human beings as the problem and technology as a solution. The very essence of what it means to be human is treated less as a feature than a bug. This is an acclaimed historian Harari, and he gives us a stark warning. The power of AI to discover our secrets, our hopes, and our fears has been a reoccurring theme of many years. Once there is somebody out there, a system out there, an algorithm out there that knows you better than you know yourself, the game is up. You can do something about it, not just by withholding data, but above all, by improving your own understanding of yourself. The better you understand yourself, the more difficult it is to manipulate you.
You don't understand. Not until you've lived it. Millions of eyes trained on you constantly. It can be beautiful and terrifying.
The cyberpunk narrative coincides with the depiction of cyberspace as a location where fantasies and nightmares about the body are realized. For some, an exaggerated need for control can certainly be isolating. Cyberpunk dives into the uncanny spaces of cyberspace to a crowd of new believers who are ready to abandon themselves to its new pleasures. They can be turned into soulless slaves at the service of the hypnotic power of its subliminal messages. Crushed by its endemic information overload, sucked of their blood by more experimented vampires, or merely just transformed into the very medium they inhabit, minds without bodies. Who will we become from 2021 on will depend of how aware we are of the fantasies and desires that govern us. If 2077 has taught me anything, it's the notion that it will be easier and easier for us to lose ourselves as the years go by. So hang on tightly. It is the most important thing we have, after all.
Our group is concerned that the development of neurotechnologies and artificial intelligence methods are not properly regulated from the point of view of ethics. This technology could be used for good or for bad.
Would they have arrested them based on what their brains revealed? That day may be closer than you think. With our growing capabilities in neuroscience, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, we may soon know a lot more of what's happening in the human brain. As a bioethicist, a lawyer, a philosopher, and an Iranian American, I'm deeply concerned about what this means for our freedoms and what kinds of protections we need. I believe we need a right to cognitive liberty as a human right that needs to be protected. If not, our freedom of thought, access, and control over our own brains and our mental privacy will be threatened.
The greatest crimes issue from a desire for excess and not from necessity.
By the way, you may have seen that I recently launched a Snapchat account. I love it. I love it. Those messages disappear all by themselves.
I think the things that we think are important now will probably not be important in the future. But there will be things that are important.
What
They
will
just
be
are
more
different
important?
things. I don't know, there might be some war of ideas, potentially. I don't think Darwin's going away.
Right.
Darwin's going to be there.
No,
Darwin will be there forever.
Forever. Yeah.
It would just be a different arena. Different arena.
A digital arena.
Different arena. Darwin's not going away.
What keeps you up at night?